Hello again, racing fans. Welcome to Hoosier Park Racing and Casino for a fantastic Friday night of Grand Circuit Racing 2015. This is the night drive from the Terrace Studios. I'm Steve Cross alongside Miss Emily Gaskin.
It is Friday, October 30th. Seems like we've been talking about this day for many days previously, but it is finally Friday, October 30th, our 149th live racing program in our 160-day all harness racing meet. 14 races set to get underway at 5:45 p.m.
We have been talking about this day, and for good reason, Emily. Tonight, a bit over $1 million on the line in Grand Circuit, the final Hoosier Park Grand Circuit stop for 2015. And a stellar card tonight, some big matchups as we welcome back a Breeders' Crown champion.
That's right. So just like you said, welcome back Freaky V Pete after his Breeders' Crown win. We're very, very excited to watch him race here at Hoosier Park, obviously against the #1 ranked horse, Wiggle It Jiggle It. That is race number 13, round number 3. Round number 3, if you will. But probably the feature race of the evening, not probably, is the feature race of the evening, but just a great undercard through and through. You know, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. We've got the 2015 Dan Patch winner, the Hambletonian winner, a couple Indiana Sire Stakes champions, and a driver series to mix in as well.
So all eyes turn to Hoosier Park this evening, and if you are joining us via satellite, welcome to Hoosier Park here in central Indiana, as we are set to kick off a big night of racing. Of course, a big day of racing, the Breeders' Crown action, Breeders' Cup action rather, from Keeneland ongoing. That will continue tomorrow as well. So big weekend of racing, horse racing across the country.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the Breeders' Cup taking place today down at Keeneland, day number 1. And day number 2, they'll come back with the first post tomorrow at 11 a.m., I believe. Race number 11 is actually the Breeders' Cup Classic. That's the race that American Pharoah will be racing in. Post number 4 with an estimated post time of 5:35 p.m. Tomorrow. That will be tomorrow. So we'll start the show a little bit earlier. We'll obviously go to the Breeders' Cup festivities, but like you said, the full simulcast and wagering options right here at Hoosier Park.
So invite you to come back again tomorrow and enjoy an entire day of racing action, followed by harness racing action tomorrow night. Many of the races and the horses that we would normally see on a Friday night will be racing tomorrow night here at Hoosier Park. So again, just a big weekend of harness racing action here at Hoosier this evening. Big night last night for our leading driver, Trace Tetrick, as he had yet another Grand Slam.
Yes, this is not a recording. Trace Tetrick with a Grand Slam last night. Hats off to our leading driver. He is well on his way to a leading driving title here at Hoosier Park, actually his 4th. He's 150 wins in the lead over Tyler Smith. So it's safe to say he's got a nice pad there. But again, he will lead actually tonight to Team Midwest. Team Midwest in the East Meets Midwest Drivers Challenge. And
those races will take place, races 4 through 8. There are no changes in the challenge tonight, of the Drivers Challenge, races 4 through 8. And there is the lineup. Team East, including several Hall of Famers like John Campbell and David Miller. There is Tim Tetrick, Yannick Gingras, and Scott Zeron. The Team Midwest from right here at Hoosier Park, consisting of our leading driver, Trace Tetrick, Tyler Smith, Lowain Miller, John DeLong, and Sam Widger. And those 5 races handicapping last night shake out to be some very competitive races, and could see some surprises.
Yes, actually, you know, I took a chance and took my long shot of the night in one of those races, just for the sole fact we talked about it a little bit. You know, a new driver jumps aboard, and sometimes new eyes. That's all that it takes. So again, very competitive racing, and I think that's kind of an interesting part about the card tonight. So not only do we have the great Grand Circuit races, but then we pepper in those very competitive Drivers Challenge races as well.
Now, what's on the line for this Drivers Challenge?
$10,000, winner takes all type of prize. So each driver, whichever team rallies the most points in the 5 races of the challenge, the winning team will take $10,000, $2,000 per driver.
May I put this out?
Yes.
I would love to challenge the drivers to donate that money to charity.
That'd be a nice little swing for sure.
It would. It's easy for me to say.
Yeah,
it's not my pocket.
It's easy for us to sit up here and say, right?
Nevertheless, some good racing tonight. We do have some scratches that we need to pass along, some housekeeping that needs to be taken care of here. So let's take a look at the changes that we have on the program this evening. We begin in race number 2. It's the consolation of the Crossroads of America 3-year-old filly trot. The 6-horse Lindy on the Rocks has been scratched sick. Race 2, scratch the 6, Lindy on the Rocks. Several scratches in the third race. Now the third starts the pick 4. Races 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the third race, scratch the 9, Home and Dry. That's a judge's scratch. The 10, Colbert, is out due to sickness. So I have to go back to the drawing board now with the 10 horse being out. Race 3 rather. Third race, number 9 and number 10 have both been withdrawn. From there we jump back to race number 9 in this evening's 9th race. It's the USS Indianapolis Memorial. 3-0 filly pace. The 10 horse is out. Feet of the dashboard. The Indiana sired filly is a judge's scratch. And finally in the nightcap, race 14, this evening's getaway feature. In the 14th race, several scratches. The 1, Hillary's Style, and the 8, Imagine Dragon. 1 and 8 both out of the 14th race. Now with that, there will be no superfecta wagering, as there are only 6 entries remaining for wagering. So no superfecta wagering in race number 14. And that brings you up to speed on the changes that we have on the program tonight. Live look at the Hoosier Park Oval. It may be overcast, it may be 49 degrees, but the track condition is fast, and things should heat up throughout the night on the track, that is, as we again host Grand Circuit 2015. So fast track tonight. We had quite a bit of rain the last few nights. This track normally sets up very, very well 2 days after rain, so we could see some quick miles. And with the quality of the program, the quality of the stock that we have this evening, wouldn't surprise to see some sub 150 miles tonight.
Yeah, and the wind did not affect our last couple nights. We've seen quite a bit of wind, and you know, as we've talked about before, the long Hoosier Park stretch, a lot of times wind can play a huge factor, especially when handicapping. But tonight, no wind. It is a little cooler. Track is rated fast. Looking forward to a very competitive program.
So for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, the Hoosier Park Oval here in Anderson, Indiana, is a 7/8 mile oval. So the horses will start about midway up the stretch, once around here, and then the added 1/8 of a mile, of course, for a 1 mile standard distance. Now, we do have a fair start pole. That's a new rule that has been put into effect here at Hoosier Park beginning this year. So that's something to keep in mind as well. There is a look at the fair start pole. It's about a 1/16 of a mile from the start. And so keep that in mind. Fair start pole, of course, means that any horse who fails to reach the first start pole before the horses are released at the start will be deemed a non-starter. This doesn't happen very often, but just in case it does, opposite the 10th race in your program is the first start pole rule.
Yes, and you know, just like you said, it doesn't happen very often, but it's a nice little safety for the betting
bettors.
public, and so you could also get a refund if your horse is deemed a non-starter.
Well, Emily, let's take a look at some of the racing action this evening. We kick off the 9th race tonight with a 3-year-old filly pace. Again, it is the USS Indianapolis Memorial pace, field of 9. The 10 horse has been withdrawn. And Sasa Hanover comes in off of a second place finish in the Breeders' Crown, one of a handful of Breeders' Crown contestants joining us tonight on this stellar card.
Yes, and that was quite a big mile for her. She started from post position number 10. The track was rated good. A very cold, windy night up at Woodbine. 151 and 2. That's a big mile for any horse, and for her to finish second, I think that was a big mile. And you see she's drawn poorly in her last 2. Finally draws inside. I think she'll get over the long Hoosier Park stretch quite well. See, she's got some nice late closing ability. I like the inside post draw for her. Filly that likes to typically race on the front, but as you know, there's quite a bit of front end speed here with the 3 Rockin' Good, who we saw go gate to wire in a Grand Circuit Stakes action last week in 151 and 2.
Now, throughout the racing program tonight in these Grand Circuit events, you will see perhaps some of the Indiana sired horses peppered in amongst the others. The 9th race is no different, as the one Mystical Treasure, 3-year-old pacing filly that is fresh off of a big win. In fact, 2 starts ago was deemed the Indiana Sire Stakes champion in a big upset in that $220,000 super final on the 10th of October. 2 starts ago, you see she was set off at 78-1. She started from post 7, got away last, and made up a lot of ground on the stretch. In fact, paced home in 27-4 to secure just her 2nd win of the season. She draws post 1 this evening. A good post for her. The 3 Rockin' Good, another Indiana sired filly that likes to race to the front. This filly at one time was the national season's record holder with a 148 mile down at Lexington. She comes off of another gate to wire win in Grand Circuit racing last week here at Hoosier Hoosier.
One filly I think that could perhaps go underrated or overlooked, if you will, in the 9th race is the 5 Devil Child. I really like this 3-year-old filly by American Ideal. Look at those last quarters. Those are the type of quarters you love to see, especially for a filly shipping into Hoosier Park with the long stretch. Yeah, she's a 3rd start on Lasix from the Chris Oakes barn and was a winner by 8 3/4 in her last, in a lifetime best of 1:49 3. Obviously, Pocono, a very fast track, but she draws to the middle of the pack here, likes to close, likes to come from off the pace, and she's got leading driver Tim Tetrick in the sulky.
10th race then starts the pick 5, and incidentally, no winners in last evening's pick 5 racing here at Hoosier Park, so there is a $771 carryover going into the 10th race trot tonight. It is the Crossroads of America for 3-year-old fillies, a $140,000 event, fields of 10 going postward, and here in the 10th race, the track record holder here at Hoosier Park, her last start, the 2 Muscle Baby Doll.
Yeah, that was a big mile for her, 1:53.1 over a fast-rated track, but it was, again, a cold, windy night, and just a big mile for her. She looked very, very good. I was reading a story about her earlier this week, and, you know, that break last time out was just very uncharacteristic, her connections went on to say. Just looked like she was too fired up. The filly, again, you love to see a filly ship to Hoosier Park for the first time and post that kind of mile, so I went to her. I think she'll garner a lot of attention. Like you said, a track record holder, reestablished Charita's previous track record of 1:53.4. So again, we talked about it a little bit too. The other thing I like about these races tonight, although we do see a number of horses shipping in from the Breeders' Crown, we also see a number of horses that raced here last week in those Grand Circuit races. We hosted the Madison County and Circle City Grand Circuit races. So those that didn't race in the Breeders' Crown were actually here at Hoosier Park, and that's what you see with Muscle Baby Doll. They didn't end up going to the Breeders' Crown, so they opted to come to Hoosier Park. Love that she's had a start over the surface, and David Miller gets the call tonight.
Hall of Famer driver David Miller, the sulky tonight for the Trent Stoller barn. Stoller has several in this field here. The 10-horse, Your Majestic, one of 2 that John DeLong was named to drive. He opts to go with the 5-horse Fox Valley Yoko. Of course, this one for the Kurt Grummel barn, and of course that is the Homicide Hunter connection there. So
which we see in the 11th race.
Which we see in the 11th race. And Homicide Hunter from the inside post this evening will undoubtedly face his biggest test to date. He comes in as the Indiana Sire Stakes champion, and if you look at the stats for the season, he comes in undefeated at 3. He's 16 of 16. But again, big test tonight as he takes on the Hamiltonian winner.
Yes, the Hamiltonian winner in Pinkman. And we had a big show on Tuesday, so we didn't get a chance to show his race. And he's 12-1. Like you said, it is his biggest test to date, but I do feel like we should do our due diligence and show that race from last week. We have it queued up right here.
Venture leads him into the far turn. Racing in second, Mesmerize and Miller has now gone in the pocket position. Chief Lee and Wilder first up in third. Muscle Up the Goal is trying to keep tabs on that cover in behind it. Here comes Homicide Hunter, who is 5th, but about 5.5 off the pace just outside the 3rd marker here. And Classic Venture and Trace Tetrick still show the way. Mesmerize hugging them cones in second, flanked by Chief Lee and ratcheting up the pressure 3 wide. Here comes a Muscle Up the Goal as they straighten 3/4, 1:25.2. And they've all got to get to long shot. Classic Venture shows the way, but bearing down to the outside. Here's Muscle Up the Goal on the wide outside. Homicide Hunter still has 5 leagues to find, but has now kicked it into top gear. Can Muscle Up the Goal Canadian Invader hold off Homicide Hunter, who's bearing down to the outside? These 2 to the wire. Muscle Up the Goal to the inside. Homicide Hunter with a one final desperate lunge to get up by a nostril to win the Circle City Trot.
And he wins yet again. That's the first I've seen the race.
Yes.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, that shows the true heart of a champion. He refused to lose. I really thought, and we talked about this a little bit while the race was going. You know, if you're going to lose your first race, don't get beat by a nose or a whisker. Don't get beat. And I thought that's what was going to happen, but Homicide Hunter had it figured out elsewhere. So again, we talk about Homicide Hunter. He is undefeated and just a phenomenal horse, but he does face a very tough group here in the Carl Erskine. Now, he was a supplemental entry. They paid the supplement to get this horse eligible.
Interesting.
Last week, the Kurt Grummel obviously said after the race, wasn't in the plans to go to the Carl Erskine, but given that race last week, they went ahead and paid the supplement.
Got to give him a shot.
Very much so. But like we said, a very, very tough group here. Muscle Up the Goal. I was a little surprised to see this horse at 30-1. That's the horse we just watched, who just almost beat Homicide Hunter, and makes his second start on Lasix for the Chris Beaver barn. I thought he raced extremely well. He was first up, still trotted in 154-1, and again makes his second start on Lasix. I think 30-1. Although again, you've got a horse like Pinkman, who I think is obviously the horse to beat in this race, but I think you could shop for some value in tonight's 11th race.
Although Pinkman went down in defeat in the Breeders' Crown final last week, as you can see in that last start from the inside post one, was bet down as the prohibitive favorite and was second by a neck to the bank. And tonight he draws from post 4, so it can be done, but they'll be hard pressed to beat this Hamiltonian winner, $2 million son of explosive matter. So it's certainly exciting to see Pinkman, the Hamiltonian winner, here tonight.
And the Yonkers Trot winner,
How
too,
about that?
as well,
Habitat.
in Habitat. Now, this horse, obviously 1.2 on his card from the Ron Burke barn. My only concern is, I certainly use this horse, but just his first start off of a qualifier could be a little short. So, again, I think he's one you certainly are going to have to give a long look, but just going to be a question of how tight this horse is. And he likes to race on the front. He starts in the second tier.
A lot of different angles that you can go within that 11th race. That is a stellar group of 3-year-old trotting colts and geldings in this year's edition of the Carl Erskine Trot. 12th race then, $165,000 on the line. And I'm going to be honest, I was a bit disappointed to only see 6 horses in this year's edition of the Hoosier Park Pacing Derby, but it does not lack for talent. This is a very solid group of pacers, field of 6 going postward. Of course, you have J.K. Enavanera, who was second the last 2 starts now. Second, in fact, in his Breeders' Crown. He's no stranger to the Hoosier Park Oval. In fact, he knows exactly where the winner's circle is here at Hoosier.
Yeah, and I was very, very tempted to use this horse as my best bet of the night. If you remember correctly, Dan Patch Invitational, Brett Miller even went out and said it was all up to God because this horse looked like he had nowhere to go. And he came flying, rattled home in 26-2 to win the 2015 edition of the Dan Patch. Like you said, the horse certainly knows how to get the job done at Hoosier Park. He actually came back and raced in an invitational here on the 26th, $21,000 invitational. He was victorious in that race as well. So again, this horse loves the Hoosier Park surface.
Horse for the course.
Exactly. And I went on the air a little earlier in HRT or TVG rather, and it's a little hard pressed when the richest pacer in harness racing flies under the radar. Foiled again.
$7.19 million foiled again, starting from the inside post this evening. Now, he may not be having the year that he had last year, but then again, he is 11 years old and he's still getting the job done. He's closing in on $300,000 for the season. So it's a good group, albeit 6 going postward in the 12th race. So that brings us to round 3.
Round number 3. And I wanted to forfeit my best bet of the night tonight, but I mixed things up. My best bet of the night tonight is a 1-3 exacta in the 13th race. Exacta box.
Exacta box. Right there with you. Right there with you.
That's my best bet of the night.
Speaking, of course, of the 13th race, the Monument Circle, Wiggle It, Jiggle It, and Freaky Feet Pete, 2 Indiana-sired pacers that have met only twice before, and they have split. Wiggle It, Jiggle It winning the first round. Freaky Feet Pete got the best the second round. Now they're back again for round number 3.
How do you see it? Let's see it. Let's hear it.
Freaky Feet Pete.
All right, Freaky Feet Pete. I'm with you there. It's hard to choose. I've had such a great year cheering for both these horses, obviously being Indiana-sired horses. Just an extremely, extremely talented group of 3-year-old pacing colts from the state of Indiana this year. And it's been a lot of fun watching both Wiggle It, Jiggle It, and Freaky Feet Pete here at Hoosier Park and elsewhere. So, it's tough to choose, but I, like you, went to Freaky Feet Pete for the sole fact I think Wiggle It, Jiggle It, we saw much the same story last time out. I believe this horse will be on the front, and Freaky Feet Pete can sprint with the best of them.
Yes.
And if Wiggle It, Jiggle It has to do all the brunt work, I think Freaky Feet Pete will be the benefactor tonight.
And that's exactly the way it shook out last time they met up here at Hoosier Park. Wiggle It, Jiggle It cut the mile 2 starts ago, and Pete sat right on his back. And when they turned for home, the roar of the crowd pretty much described what was happening as Wiggle It, Jiggle It vacated the pocket seat and got right up alongside Wiggle It, Jiggle It, and it was came right down to the wire. Freaky Feet Pete then goes on to win by a length and a quarter and was impressive, to say the least. In fact, winning with a final quarter of 26 seconds flat. So I believe you're right. Comes down to the trip tonight. And Freaky Feet Pete, my choice here in the 13th race. But there's some other nice colts in this race as well. You look at the 7-horse Lost for Words, who was 3rd last week in the Breeders' Crown. He whacked it out for driver David Miller. And, of course, he was second by a nose in the Little Brown Jug 2 Wiggle It, Jiggle It.
Yeah, and you speak of the Little Brown Jug, you also have to take a look at the 5, My Hero Ron. Now, this horse really raced uncharacteristically last time out. He finished 10th racing in the Circle City, but this is a horse that finished 3rd in the Jug final behind Wiggle It, Jiggle It, and A Loss for Words. So you really can't take anything away from this horse. He draws to the middle of the pack, and Ron Burke is a great, obviously our leading trainer here. So I think this horse will rebound. He's another one that I think, could certainly factor on the exotic ticket.
So we're very excited to host Grand Circuit Racing here this evening at Hoosier Park. And again, if you're just arriving, welcome to Hoosier Park Racing and Casino as we are set to kick off a big night of racing action. And of course, you'll be busy throughout the night as well. Do we still have our Beat the Big Guy handicapping contest?
As always, it never fails. Tonight, Beat the Big Guy handicapping contest. All you have to do, get up to Club Centaur to get signed up. $250 on the line tonight. All contestants that beat the big guy will be eligible for that $500 drawing tomorrow. It's free to sign up and free to become a club member. Again, all up at Club Centaur.
Okay, so 7 minutes now until race number 1. Don't forget, we're back in action again tomorrow. And as Emily said, Breeders' Cup first post at 11 o'clock. You can, of course, come out and spend the entire day. This is a great place to watch and wager on America's very best right here at Hoosier. Enjoy your night. Good luck, everyone.